right, all right, all right. Shalom, shalom. All right, all right. We welcome everybody to our Torah study on tonight. We say shalom, shalom. We've come in from outside. We had a good Shabbat service at the park, and we're back in the house. Back in the house, and so we just want to welcome everybody back in. Those who are joining us live, we say shalom. Those who will be coming in later, and then those who will pick this up at a time convenient for them, whether it's on tomorrow or whenever, we certainly welcome you into the house of Yah, and we say shalom. We've been talking and discussing last few classes. We've been talking about Nachum, Shub, and Teshuba, and trying to get a better understanding of Torah and the teachings of Torah. It's important that we know knowledge. He wants us to be knowledgeable. He says, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. And because you have rejected my teachings, Most High Yah said, because you have rejected my instructions. Because I think instructions goes across a little easier than LAW. Because as soon as you say LAW, us folk start pushing back. Oh man, toe to toe, we ready to go. Because you say LAW when the LAW were just simply laws, or laws were simply instructions. It's this is what I want you to do. This is how I want you to conduct yourself. This is how, and actually, when we hear his instructions and we follow his instructions, he says, you represent me here in this earth. On this earth, on this planet, in the land, wherever you're at, you're representing me if you're obedient unto my instructions. He has given us, and I want to go there real quick, in Hosea. They call him Hosea, but it's actually Husha. But he says here in Hosea 4 and 6, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the instructions of thy Elohim. I will also forget thy children, or because thou hast forgotten the law of thy Elohim, I will also forget thy children. And that has plagued us for generations upon generations upon generations. It has plagued us. It is still, this prophecy is still in effect today. I told you I had been speaking to someone, and I'm hoping that we can open some dialogue and just converse back and forth in a friendly manner. But his lack of understanding the prophecies is what's going to get a lot of us in trouble. There's many things that we lack. We have gotten so comfortable in a Roman religion, and I just want to say something about that on today, because this is a verse. I'm gonna call up a verse, and it's a verse that I've called up many times. Some of you probably could quote it by heart, but just being urged in the Ruach, being urged to go back and look at it again and dig a little deeper into it. And when I did that, and I go, oh, okay, I know why he wanted me to do that. Because we as a people, we're so programmed. They have downloaded their program in us. When I say they, I'm talking about this culture, this country, this empire, and where this country was birthed, where it came from, and they put in us their theology, and we didn't know anything else, and because we had rejected his instructions, we just succumbed to their teaching. I mean, he says that he was going to forget us. He told our ancestors, hey, because you reject my knowledge, and you don't want to follow my instructions, I'm going to forget. Who did he say he was going to forget? I'm going to forget your children. I'm going to forget your children because of what they did. And so here we are, we're just made subject to being brainwashed. And we think, we move in a spirit. We move in a spirit, and a lot of times we see things happening in the spirit where, we see miracles. Man, I've seen a miracle. And I'm sure all of us have seen some kind of miracle in our life. And we attribute that to Jesus. We attribute that to him. But we don't want to believe that there's other spirits out there that can do the same thing that Jesus has done. We don't want to accept that. We don't want to believe that. We don't want to believe that, because then that comes, it starts to, you're starting to push against something that I hold dear to me in my heart, in my mind, and in my spirit. You're starting to push against that. Watch out, brother, because, I'm liable to shut you down. You start talking, but that's how deeply etched it is in us. Because I believe intelligence is not knowing everything, but intelligence is challenging everything you know. That's what's intelligent is. So whatever I learned down through my life, and I've been around the CHURCH all my life. I was talking to somebody the other day. I think I went to my first council. I was 9 months old. I've been around here practically all my life. And so there's things that are put in you and instilled in you, and there's values and there's morals and there's things that you receive from that many of us refuse to challenge it. We refuse to challenge it. There's no way they're wrong. They taught us that. That's right. But I want to go to Revelation, and this is a scripture that I've called out before, and some of you know it. And Revelations 12 and verse number 9. Revelations 12 and verse number 9. I've read this verse before. We've talked about it, right? We've kind of discussed it. We talked about it, and that this is one thing about Torah, one thing about His Word. You can get something from it today, but if you keep reading it and studying it, down the road you're gonna get some more. He'll roll some back. He'll peel something back off of it. He'll peel something else off of it. It's like that onion, right? You just keep peeling off the outside skin till you get, because there's always something there. And the reason why that is because this book that we're talking about, the Hebrew canon and the what we call, the letters and the Masorah and everything, it's a living document. It's a living document. It's alive. It has anybody ever heard that? I heard this a long time ago in the church, but if you cut this book open, it's gonna bleed. I don't know if anybody ever heard that, but I heard that. If you cut this book open, it's gonna bleed, because there's life. This is a book of life. It was written so long ago, but it's applicable to today. Very applicable. So Revelations 12 and 9, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, he's a serpent, right? Called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So we've read this verse before, right? We've kind of talked about it. I'm sure some of you can recall some of the things that we've talked about concerning this verse. But I want to show you something because, like I said, I was urged to go back. Go back. Look at that. Look at that again. And so when I look at, and we would define the whole world. Remember we talked about deceiveth the whole world. The whole world. And we think, anywhere on this planet where there's people, that's where he's at deceiving. He's deceiving the whole world. And he is the greatest deceiver, the master of deception. That's who he is. Serpent, dragon, devil, Satan. In this verse, they give him four titles. I mean, he's trying to tell you, he ain't missing. He ain't going to miss him. I mean, you can call him the serpent, you can call him the dragon, you can call him the devil, you can call him Satan. But I just want to get my point across. This spirit or this entity, this angel or this thing, however you want to define it, did something that a lot of times some of us are waking up to it, but because the curses, the 400 years, we're in the last days. He's revealing his people, and he still has to do a lot of revealing. There's still some things that's going to happen in our short days here. There's some things that's going to happen relatively quick that's going to shine more light on you. It's going to shine more light on you. I don't know. I wonder if you're ready. But in this verse here, I want to look up the word world. I want to look up the word world, which is G, because it was written in the Greek. It's G 3625. G 3625. So I looked that up, and that's Koine Greek. And I don't know if anybody in here can speak Koine Greek, but this is Koine Greek. But listen to what it says here. Feminine participle, present passive of 3611 as noun by implication of G 1093. Okay, so what is he referring to? You say, well, land, that is what we would call the terrain, part of the globe. Land, terrain, part of the globe. Now, let's look at this now. Specifically, what this verse is talking about, when he says world in this verse, because see, in English, we just say world, and we think, sometimes in the Greek, they would say cosmos, because they're talking about the heavens. But here, it didn't talk about cosmos. Specifically, when it's talking about terrain or that part of the globe, specifically what? Specifically the Roman Empire. That's what I'm talking about here. When I talk about this Satan, this devil, that's gone out to deceive, he's specifically talking about Rome and the Roman Empire. And there was a Roman Empire in that day. This was written in the 1st century. There was a Roman Empire in that day. See, you guys always hear me say, one day I'm going to come in here, I'm going to speak Latin. Now I'm going to quote it in Latin. I'm going to see if you guys understand what I'm saying, But because for 1,200 years, this book was only accessible in the Latin language, and it was not handed out to where everybody had it in their house. You couldn't get the Greek. Only thing you could get was the Latin Vulgate. And so they had a 1,200-year head start. Who did? The Roman Empire. Had a 1,200-year head start. And so there's a lot of things, there was a lot of things that's hidden in here. And so when the translation went from Latin to English, And even when I had looked at this, it didn't dawn on me. But when I start to dig into, he says, specifically, I'm dealing with the Roman Empire now. He's out here in the land, and he's deceiving the whole Roman Empire, who was a world leader and a world power at that time. Well, when our Messiah was here, right? Pontius Pilate, he was the governor. Rome was way up over here. He's a governor down there in Jerusalem, because that's how far the Roman Empire went. It wasn't just in Italy. And I think judgment, Most High Yah could be quite raw sometimes. When his judgment comes, it's final. It's final. And I think he's gonna get this SAT and the people that have been deceived by the devil and Satan. But the Roman Empire, and so in that day, the first century, and even after that, there was a Roman emperor by the name of, and some people know where I'm going. Well, Julius Caesar predated Christ, our Messiah. He predated our Messiah. You had Augustus Caesar. You had Tiberius. That's about the time of our Messiah, or right after his death. But in the 4th century, there was another emperor of Rome. Now we're dealing with the Roman Empire, because the Roman Empire is still in effect today. Roman Empire is still in effect today. So in the 4th century, there was a Roman emperor. Anybody know who I'm talking about? Pontius Pilate. That was in the time of our Messiah. Yeah, he didn't really rise up to be the emperor, but because as soon as I say it, yeah, right. But I said the 4th century, kind of give you a heads up. 325 AD, in the 19th, Constantine was a Roman emperor. 325 AD. And these people, not only Constantine, but the post-apostolic fathers were all Roman or Greek philosophers. So they were a part of the Roman Empire that was being deceived by who? Hasatan. All of them being deceived by Hasatan. And so when we talk about Christianity, and when we talk about the church, and we talk about all of that, goes back to Rome. All of it goes back to Rome. I grew up apostolic. This last organization I was in, a bishop was talking to the pastors and pointed towards the sanctuary and the pulpit area and everything we're doing. He said, "Look up there, you see that?" He said, "That's the Roman Catholic Church. Apostolic Church now." Bishop, that you see what we do? That's the Roman Catholic Church. That's what they do. Because all of it goes back to Rome. All of it goes back to Rome. And so when I'm so conditioned in my mind and in my heart and my spirit to believe in the CHURCH, and I know, and you got some for, I know I'm right. I'll debate the devil. I know I'm right. But you don't realize that the whole foundation of what you have goes back to Rome. And the purpose of Satan, what was his purpose? What did he want to do? He wanted to deceive who? The whole Roman Empire. Specifically, he wants to deceive the whole Roman Empire. Now, why do you think he wants to deceive the Roman Empire? They were the leader of the world. And his empire stretched the known world. They went out to all these different nations to conquer. What's the famous words of Caesar? I came, I saw, I conquered. That that was his motto. I came, I saw, I conquered. Everywhere they went in the known world, if Rome showed up, oh, they didn't show up to shake your hands and do business with you. Oh no, if they showed up, oh, they're coming to conquer you. They're coming to conquer. So they were a world empire. So Satan knew that if I can get the world empire and deceive them, they're going to deceive the whole world. And that's what Rome has done. Catholicism, what does that mean? Catholicism or Catholic or Catholicism, what does that mean? Anybody know? No. It means universal. Universal. Catholic, Catholicism means universal. They are the universal church. Universal church. So Satan, he's not like us where we would probably pick a loser because, this person just dear to me, so I'm just going to pick a loser. That's not Satan. Satan is clever, very clever. Been around before Yahuwah made Adam. He was around. Well, if he could convince a third of the heavenly hosts to rebel against the Most High, man don't stand a chance. You don't stand a chance against him. The only thing that keeps us protected is the Ruach, and the blood and the testimony of our Messiah and the commandments that we keep. Let me show you. Let me show you. Later on in this chapter, Revelations 12, and I want to go down to the last verse, and verse 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and to make war with the remnant of her seed. Now, they're easy to find. Why are they easy to find, the remnant of her seed? Why are they easy to find? It's right there. Yeah. Which keep the commandments. Anybody's keeping the commandments, you're a target. You're a target. Because even the CHURCH is against the commandments. They'll tell you, we don't have to keep the commandments. And then they lie on the Mashiach and say, he nailed it to his cross. But what he nailed to the cross was the enmity between the seed, the bloodline, Israelites, and the Gentiles that were to come in. He tore down that partition and that enmity between them. And he nailed it to his cross. He didn't do away with no commandments. He didn't do away with no commandments. So the deception, and they run with that deception. So here he says, the dragon is wroth with the woman, which is Israel, Yasharel. He's wroth with Yasharel and to make war with the remnant of her seed, or all of the descendants of Yasharel, which keep the commandments of Elohim and have the testimony of Yahushua Mashiach. So that it works both ways. It identifies us, but yet it makes us a target. I mean, and he knows that he cannot conquer us if we remain within the confines of the commandments and Yahushua Mashiach. If we remain within that, he can't conquer us. And the more I know you can't conquer me. And I'm not saying that boastfully. I'm saying it because of the obedience unto Torah, keeping Torah. If you become disobedient to Torah and the instructions, then he can get you. He can conquer you. The, where we are now, the only thing he can do is try to tempt us to pull us out. Like Abner was pulled out of the city of refuge. Couldn't get him in the city of refuge. I can't get him. I can't get him. Let me get him to step out. And Abner, he didn't run from the city. I'm going to meet you on a long journey. I'm going to meet you on a long. Oh, no. Foot out the gate of the city. He was right there. That's all it took. And it cost him his life. Long as I'm within Torah and the instructions of Torah, and I have the testimony of Yahushua Mashiach, I can boast. That's where I boast. But we always got to take heed, because what did Shaul say? He that, but we can't boast, but we have to be careful, right? He that thinketh he stand, take heed lest he fall. So, I'm standing. I'm standing. You know how we say it, 10 toes down. I'm standing strong. I ain't moving. And that's good. We got to have that confidence. We got to build up that confidence. But I don't want to get too high-minded, because Abner knew the law. Abner was given instructions. He knew it. But he was persuaded out. Just one. He was standing by the gate when he killed him. He was standing by the gate. He was standing by the wall. He was right there. He didn't leave the city by that far. So when I say I boast, he can't conquer me when I know I'm within the instructions, I'm in the commandments. I'm a target. All of us are a target. And I still hear a lot of darts and things thrown at you, because those who keep the commandment, you are a target. You got the testimony, and the testimony of Yahushua Mashiach, not the Romanized version. Not the Romanized version. I want to go to, let's see, Luke 4, and let's start at verse 16. Luke 4 and 16. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Shabbat day and stood up to read. As his custom was, as his manner, as his practice, his obedience. If he was here today, you would find him on the Shabbat day. He would be, of course he would know, but he would be looking for the synagogue on the Shabbat day. All these folks on the first day of the week talking about JESUS, and he wouldn't even be there. He ain't even there. Even if he was in the city, he wouldn't be there, because that would be in violation with his Abba. And back in that day, they all kept the Sabbath. It wasn't until the Roman emperor, because Satan wanted to deceive the Roman Empire, because he knew that they were all over the face of the earth. He also knew that they had under their control not only all the other nations in the world, but they had those who kept the commandments and had the testimony of Yahushua Mashiach. He knew that. He knew that. So if I can get them, if I can get that world power, I can get the remnant of her seed, because he was mad at her, right? That's what he said. He had great wrath. He was wroth with the woman and her seed, and so he went out looking for those. The deception runs so deep that you cannot convince people who practice that religion. You cannot convince them that what they're doing is not right. You can't convince them. They're not having it, because which lets me know how powerful deception is. Well, we got so many souls when was baptized. So many souls was filled with the Holy Ghost on Sunday, first day of the week. And they like to ride that and make that claim. And I believe that he can give you the Ruach HaKodesh any day of the week. That's his discretion. He'll give it to you any day of the week. But their practice and their custom was keeping the Shabbat, keeping the Sabbath. That was their practice and their custom. But I also know that when Yahusha said in Matthew 24, when he talked about, I'm going to come back here to Luke 4:16, but let's go to Matthew 24, and I think it's verse 24. Yeah. Matif Yahu 24:24. For there shall arise false Christs. And he didn't say singular, he said plural, which means there's going to be more than one. So there's false Christs and false prophets, which would be a lot of the preachers, false prophets. And what makes them false prophets, when you cannot see how this thing's going to end up and you have another version, that's a false prophet. Because what does he say? He says in Yahuchanan 16:13, what does he say there? When he, the Ruach, man, I'm just going to, okay, I'm going to go to Yahuchanan 16:13, I'm going to come back here. Okay, then we got to go back to where were we at? Luke 4:16. Okay. 16:13. Howbeit, when he, the Ruach of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth. So if you speak a lie and not truth, that means the Ruach is not guiding you. It's going to guide you into all truth. The Ruach is. Now, I know some of our brothers and sisters, they repeat a lie. It's not that they came up with the original lie. They just repeat it. Well, that's just what they taught us for generations. It's got to be true. That's what they taught us without any kind of research or digging. Because if your heart is set to receive from Abba Yahuwah, and he wants you to walk with him, which ain't just a one-night stand. To walk with him means your whole life. That's what he told Abraham. He said, stand up and walk before me and be what? Be perfect, which is that maturation process. That's that maturing. You walk before me, mature. Your maturation, you got to grow in this thing. So it don't happen just one. Man, I went to church once. No. It don't work. It don't work like that. I went to one Torah study. Oh, one? I mean, sometimes in Yah's introduction, it might take a year just for him to introduce himself to you. And don't let him speak to you, because many folks would run and be scared. Like the nation of Yasharel was. No, don't speak to us. You speak to Moses. Speak to Musha. Don't speak to us. And whatever you tell Musha, we will do. But don't speak to us. So a lot of times folks, I want Yah to speak to me. Oh, okay. And you scared of thunder. You want him to, well, I want that. I want Abba Yah, that still small voice. I think I can handle that one. But I don't want to hear that thunder and rolling and lightning from the Shamaim, because some of us, man, we hear that thunder and it just rolls for a while. I've been hearing some thunder that lasts for some minutes. I mean, it's just rolling up there in the Shamaim. You just hear just rumbling and rolling all over the heavens, all over your head and everything. So some of us, if he did speak to us, it would scare us. frightened. So I get a kick out of some of these. Yah's always speaking to them. Oh, okay. Because I ain't heard not one word in this book that came down in the English language. Not that he doesn't know it. He created, he at the Tower of Babel, he caused them to have different languages. So he understands all languages. And I think in Genesis, you probably should take chapter 11 and put it in front of chapter 10. They need to change the numbers. You probably should have chapter 11, which is chapter 10, and then chapter 10 is chapter 11. Probably should change it around like that, because it was after the Tower of Babel that the people went into different lands and different languages. But you read that in chapter 10, but it actually happened in chapter 11. So you can kind of switch those around. But anyway, he understands all languages, but according to this book, he said, I am the Elohim of the Hebrews, and he spoke the Hebrew language. Even Shaul, they wouldn't listen to Shaul if he spoke Greek. We ain't listening to you. So he started to speak Hebrew. Okay, we're going to listen now. So it was the language that is. So sometimes I get a kick out of all these people, because they always got Yah's always talking to them. Oh man, Yah, well, I tell you, you need to write a book. If Yah's always talking to you, that would be prophecy. Start writing. Yah said this. Yah told me that. I was sleeping last night. Yah woke me up. Yah started talking to me, telling me this and this. And I'm going, my goodness. Some of these folks, Yah speak to every day almost. The only ones that he spoke to like that were called what? The prophets. The prophets. And he says in Hebrews, what's Hebrews 1:1 say? Oh, we better get that. And we're going to come back here. I'm going to go back. I'm going to reverse and go back. But in Hebrews 1:1, Elohim, who at sundry times and in divers manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets, hath in these last days spoken unto us. These last days spoken unto us by what? So who are all these people talking about they hearing from Abba Yah? He said the last one I spoke to was my son. Oh, but you always hear him. So then he's going against his word. Well, no, he ain't going against it. People get feelings. Sometimes you just in your feelings. That's all it is. And I heard an audible voice. Well, it probably should have sounded like a chauffeur coming from the Shamaim, like they heard. No, it was a still small voice. Oh, so you a prophet. Or sometimes they even call themselves prophetess. But then that makes this verse null and void then. We have to take it out. Hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds. So if anybody's speaking to you, who would speak to you? Because we've seen it with Shaul. If anybody speak to you, who's going to speak to you? Yahusha. If anybody's going to speak to you, don't be lying on. Our folks lying all the time. If somebody does speak to you, it's going to be the Son, because that's the last one that spoke. Hey, I spoke to my Son. That's it. Now, y'all want to get to me, go through him. That's it. Because I ain't speaking to y'all. Abba Yah was, he was pretty upset with our ancestors now. And he could be quite raw. Like I said, he might say, I ain't speaking to y'all for a couple days or a weekend. I'm taking a weekend off. I ain't speaking to y'all. But a weekend to Yah could be 2,000-3,000 years. When he says, I'm taking a weekend off, y'all speak to my Son. All right. So let's go back. Yahukanan 16:13, because we gotta show these false prophets because we're going to go back to Matthew 24:24. But howbeit, when he, the Ruach of truth is come, he will guide you into all truth, for he shall not speak of himself, but whatsoever he shall hear shall he speak, and he will show you things to come. Things to come. So if you're just repeating a lie, that's not the Ruach. That's not the spirit of truth. Because, yes, you got your hand. Because the spirit of truth can't tell. It's impossible for Elohim to lie. Didn't he say that? It's impossible for me to lie. I ain't lying. So if he speaks, it's going to be the truth. So if he speaks to you, now I'm not saying there ain't lying spirits around him in the Shamaim, because it says that in 2 Kings. When King Ahab, wasn't it? I think it was King Ahab. And he was going to go to war, and Yah says, how can I convince him that I ain't with him? And so one of the angels in the Shamaim said, I'll be a lying spirit. I'm going to go down to the mouth of his prophets. Because, see, when somebody speaks for the Most High, you have to be a prophet in order for him to speak to you. Which means you're going to say something very prophetic. I never said I was a prophet. I had never heard an audible voice. What he's given me is his Ruach and his word, and it agrees, and I run with that. I don't know if I want to hear Yah. He might speak, and my eyeballs might come out or something. I don't know. He could say something. He could move in such a way. You know, some folks, y'all got to be careful when you approach Yah. I mean, he gave us his son. He said, come through my son. I'm done with y'all. He told Moses, I've seen this people. He told Moses, get out of the way. I'm going to wipe them all out. I'm going to kill all of them. That's what he told Moses, because he was so upset. So the Ruach of truth is going to show you things to come. So if somebody stands up and says that the people over there in Palestine are the chosen people of this book, and he's going to come and deal with them, well, that's not the Ruach of truth. That's false. That's a false part. That's not the Ruach of truth. Because the Ruach of truth can't tell a lie. It can't tell a lie. And I've heard so many of us say, oh, yeah, they're the chosen people. And that's not true. So when they say that, either they're repeating a lie or they're just outright telling a lie, which means they don't have the spirit of truth. Because I repeated a lot of stuff because that's what I was taught. That's just what I was taught, so I just repeated it. Yes. Right. And they had power. The prophets for Pharaoh, the magicians for Pharaoh, they had power. Right. Because if you go somewhere and you need healing and then you get healed, oh, that connects you. You ain't listening to what they said. All I know is I was sick, now I'm whole. They could be lying every day. I don't care. I had cancer. I ain't got it now. I don't care what they say. You know, so, but they're I think in the in Shaul's letters, I think he calls their names out, Janus and Jambres, I think. But they were the magicians for Pharaoh. And so when Aaron threw down his rod, and then, I can do that too. And threw down their rod, and it turned to a snake, but then Aaron's snake ate their snake. I was going to show you who's powerful. It just ate them up, you know. But it wasn't that they weren't able to do that. And even the witch of Endor. Can't tell me she didn't have no power now. She was able to call up Samuel. Yeah. And she called up, and she didn't really know it, but Saul asked her, and she said, what he looked like, that's Samuel. And then Samuel says, why are you waking me up? Why you I'm at peace, I'm at rest. Why you calling me back? So the witch of Endor has some power. So we can't say they ain't got no power. The only one that's got power. No. SA-10 got some power. No, He's got it. He is the prince and the power of what? The air. He's all over. And that's why we have to stay protected. My mind's got to be protected. I have to study Torah and the instructions to keep him on my mind that protects me from SA-10. Because I ain't no match for him. He might show me something. I go, whoa. You know? I got to have my mind protected. And what I protected with is Torah. He says they keep the commandments and they have the testimony of Yahushua Mashiach. I know for one thing, Yahushua saved me. I know that. I don't care. The whole world could stand against me. I don't care. I was there. I know he saved me. I know he saved me. You know, so that's not an argument. I have the testimony of Yahushua Mashiach. He's the Ben Elohim, son of God. He's the Ben Elohim who was sent to redeem Yasharel. Through his life and his obedience unto Abba, because he even said, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. And he went on and endured the cross, despising the shame, you know, and he's the author and the finisher of our faith. So I've been born again, just like the Torah teaches. I've been born again. I don't have to wonder, did I do that? No, I know what I did, you know. I know when the Ruach came into me and filled me up. And so they're going to show you things that come. Now let's go back to Matthew 24:24. And here it says, for there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, show great signs and wonders. Great signs and wonders. Insomuch that if possible, they shall deceive their elect. If it's possible, the very elect will be deceived. Because he, specifically speaking, the Roman Empire, and when Yahuchanan or Matithia, who's writing this, the Roman Empire was there, ruling. They were under the oppression of the Roman Empire. They even threatened Pilate. If you don't kill him, you ain't no friend of Caesar. Pilate says, I'm going to kill him then. You ain't going to put me up against Caesar, because y'all know kings, if king says, I want their head, that's it. Because if you don't get him the head, then whose head going to be on the chopping block? Your head. So he's going to get I came here to get your head, because that's what Caesar wanted. So, but great signs and wonders, if it's possible, they'll deceive the very elect. And he says, behold, I have told you before. So he's given us warning. He gave them warning. So I can't get trapped into signs and wonders, because Yahusha even says a sinful and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall be no sign given but what? The sign of Jonah. That's all that's going to be given. And just like Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the fish, the Son of Man is going to be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. And they messed that up. And he said, that's the only sign you're going to get. Well, he died on Friday, got up on Sunday. That's a lie. It's just an outright lie. It's an outright lie. And then they practice that pagan holiday. And so a lot of people has been speaking against this, so they changed the name from Easter Sunday to what? Resurrection Sunday. Same thing. You're doing the same thing. Just got too much heat in the kitchen. Too many folks talking. Well, we better change the name. I don't want to say EASTER. Resurrection. They went there, too many scriptures, but as the sun was coming up, it was right at the break of day, the dawning, right at the break of day. Even in Yahuchanan, I think it says, while it was yet dark, waiting for the break of the day, they went there. He was gone on the first day of the week. He was gone. He had risen on the Shabbat because that's Yah's day. And you try to tell them that. They won't accept it. No. So they're either you're true and the Bible's wrong, or the Bible's right and you're wrong. What was that song? What was it? I know the Bible's right. Somebody's wrong. I ain't breaking from the book. I mean, I'm staying right with Torah. I'm staying right with the scriptures. Because he said that was a sign you was going to get. 3 days. If you can't count to 3 from Friday to Sunday, got the wrong one. Wrong sign. And it's sad, but Yah's going to get the glory in the end. He's going to get the glory in the end. I was before I came to Matthew, I was in Luke 4:16, because we kind of went off the road there. Let's get back. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Shabbat day and stood up for to read. And there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Yashayahu, or who they call Isaiah. Here they say Isaias. And the reason why they say Isaias is because that's translated from the Greek. The Greeks would always put an S at the end of a male's name because it was a sign of masculinity. So you would know what a man's name is by that S being at the end of it. Because in the Latin, who they call Jesus, in the Latin, it was Izu. Izu, it was only like 4 letters. But in the Greek, they had an S at the end, so it would denote a male's name. So in that translation, they would translate it Jesu instead of Jesu, Jessus. His name has been changed. History tells you that. I mean, all you got to do is, it just plainly tells you that. You won't find no Jesus in the Latin Vulgate, and they had that for 1,200 years. You won't find it. It's not there. I'm sorry. I heard something the other day, because sometimes you just got to be careful of what you say, because you anger a lot of people. And so I'm thinking, okay, I need to be, but wouldn't you rather want to know now, where you can actually make a change, than to find out later when you're standing before him? Time's up. There ain't no change. You ain't changing nothing now. Time's up. Time's up. You got to give an account. So I would rather know now, make me angry now, make me upset now, so I can make the changes, make the necessary changes. Because somebody said hell is too hot and too long to go there. So I want to make the changes now while I can. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, "The Ruach of Yahuwah is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach good tidings to the poor." Now they put in gospel because they have cast a spell on people. If you look up this word, I want to look up in etymology dictionary, but if you look up that word in etymology dictionary, it's not what you think it is. And we like to think the gospel, but it's a spell. It's a spell that they'll put on you. And I mean, I see it plain as day, because you got folks, where you could take them to the scriptures and you can read it from the scriptures, and they refuse it and they reject it. And they say what they have is, no, I know what I got is the truth. Can you show me in scripture? It was posted on Telegram, in the Kingdom Life Assembly Telegram. It was posted that in Torah mentions the Shabbat 172 times. Sunday, 0. So Sabbath is winning 172 to nothing. To me, that's what do you call, if you was playing let's say you was playing a football team and they scored 172 points and you didn't get on the scoreboard, what would that be called? I mean, a landslide, a slaughter, a beating, a whoop. I mean, demolished. I mean, we could put all these names on it, but at the end you lost, big time. It wasn't even close. You didn't need no 2-minute warning. It came right here, get that time off the clock. We getting whooped. I mean, and you try, it's over. I mean, and you try to tell people, hey, there is no Sunday worship in this book. There is none. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Why? Because they're under a spell. They're under a spell. So to preach the good tidings to the poor, he has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of Yahuwah. And he closed the book, and he gave it to the minister and sat down, and the eyes of all them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him. And he began to say unto them, this day is this scripture fulfilled in your ears. So let's just look at what he said. We can find that in Isaiah, Yashayahu, chapter 61. That's where we can find it. And when he announces all of this, well, let's look. Let's look and see in verse number 18. The Ruach of Yahuwah is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the good tidings to the poor. Now, why do you say good tidings? Because that's what Isaiah 61 says. So if you go back to Isaiah 61, didn't it say he opened up the book in Isaiah? And that's where he read? It has no gospel in Isaiah. It doesn't say that. It says good tidings. So preach good tidings to the poor. Okay, we see that, right? Now, first, let's go back just a bit. He went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day. But when was this? When, chronologically, when was this, what we're reading here now, chronologically? What had happened before this? Huh? Right. So this is at the beginning of his ministry, right? I mean, he just got off his 40-day fast where Satan tempted him, wanted him to turn. I know you're hungry. Turn them rocks into bread. Get you some cornbread. I know you're hungry. And you can make that sweet cornbread. All you got to do is speak it. It's going to be sweet cornbread. I know he tempted him. So this, chronologically, this was after his temptation of Satan. And right before the temptation of Satan, what happened? What occurred? Right before the temptation. He was his immersion with Yahuchanan, the immerser. So you have the Yahuchanan, you have the immersion, and then you have 40 days of being tempted. He comes out of that. The Sabbath, he goes into the synagogue. He opens up the book, and this is what he's reading, right? Because when we read verse 21 again, I want you to see something. But let's look at this, what he's saying. To preach the good tidings to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives. So if you're preaching deliverance to the captives, what are you telling them? Y'all going to be what? You're going to be free. Y'all going to be free. The recovering of sight to the blind, to heal the broken heart. So the good tidings to the poor, that's one, right? Heal the brokenhearted. 2, deliverance to the captives. Recovering of sight to the blind. To set at liberty them that are bruised. To preach the acceptable year of Yahuwah. Notice now, the acceptable year of Yahuwah. 6 things, right? And then, what does verse 21 say? And he began to say unto them, this day is this scripture, what? Had he done those things yet? He hadn't done them yet, right? Not yet. That's going to be my ministry. That's what I'm going to do. What I just read, it's going to be fulfilled. He says, this day, this scripture is fulfilled in your ears. The point I'm trying to get to is that when he gave us a list of those things, and he's quoting out of Isaiah 61, when he's given us a list of these things that he's going to do, then he says, it's fulfilled in your ears. Did he do away with any of them? Well, why would they, this is the same word, why would they say he did away with that? Why wouldn't they say that? I mean, that's what he's saying. Hey, this day, this is going to be fulfilled in your ears. Wait a minute, you haven't done it yet. Because when he said in Matthew 5:17, he says, think not that I come to destroy the law and the prophets. I have not come to destroy, but to, well, it hasn't happened yet. Everything that was written of him in the law and the prophets, it's not over yet. We're still in that time period where he's fulfilling it. So that SA-10 says, oh, no, we're done with that. We ain't under none of that. He fulfilled it. But the prophet said, in prophecy, it says he's going to return. In fact, in that same discourse, Yahusha says, until heaven and earth pass, not one jot or tittle will pass from the law. Not one. So it's still in effect. So when people say, well, he fulfilled it, well, we can go here and say, well, yeah, but he says he fulfilled it here, but he hadn't even begun his ministry yet. Or he did begin his ministry, but we're going to see all of this happen. When he's saying this day, this is going to be fulfilled in your ears, this day is because when you see me in my ministry, this is what you're going to see. So in his people, we should see those who are his chosen people, those who are his elect, those who know Torah and the instructions, then they should see that in us because it's not done away with. Remember our first verse? Remember our first verse that we called out today? What was the first one? Hosea 4 and 6, right? That was our first one. My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. And because you have rejected knowledge, I'm going to reject you for being priest unto me. And I'm going to reject your children. I'm telling y'all, y'all ain't somebody you want to play with. This ain't something. I mean, this ain't nothing you want to take lightly. But I want to get into Isaiah 61, because that's what he's talking about here. So real quick, before my time runs out, let's go to Isaiah 61, and let's see if all of this has been completed. Let's see if all of this has been completed. In Isaiah 61, verse 1, because this is what he's quoting from, the Ruach of the sovereign Yahuwah is upon me, because Yahuwah hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. Now, in the Greek, they call them what? The poor. The poor. And the meek, if you look this word up, the meek is dealing with those who are oppressed. They're oppressed. So if he's going to preach good tidings to you who are oppressed, what is that good tidings going to be saying? Is it, I'm here to preach good tidings to all y'all who are oppressed? Well, what's the word? I just said it. How many people are you going to help? I mean, I've heard preachers say that. They might quote a scripture. Well, can you explain? It says what it says. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I've heard that. You know, but preaching or exhorting good tidings to the meek, or those who are, in the Greek says poor, but those who are meek, those who are oppressed, good tidings would be telling you, you're not going to remain oppressed. Yeah, you might be oppressed now, but you ain't going to always be oppressed. You might not have nothing now, but let me show you how to get something. Let me show you how to get something. I know we're in an oppressive system, but if we go before Yah and we agree in prayer before Yah, he can open the door for us. Or the question might be, what's oppressing you? I can't get a job. And you had 10. It's not that you can't get a job, it's you can't. That's it. You know, so I want to give you some good tidings. You have to be more accountable for your actions. You need to show up to work on time. You need to do if it's expected you to do a certain job, you got to do that job. And you can't cuss your boss out. Because you ain't going to have a job and you keep cussing out your boss. And then you're going to be back here next week talking about you oppressed. Why are you oppressed, brother? I lost my job. And you can't always be reading your Bible on the job. And you can't be speaking in tongues on your job. Throwing your Bible up in the air. And then they let you go. Man, them folks they hate saved folks. No, they want you to work. That's what they pay you for. They ain't got nothing to do with what you believe in or what your faith is. They just want you to work. You showing up here for work? Want you to work? If I'm paid, wouldn't y'all want the same thing? If you're a boss and you're paying somebody, I'm going to pay you to cut my grass. And they got a Bible and they cutting the grass. They stop. Oh, they throw the Bible up in the air, start spinning around. Wait a minute, brother. I ain't testing your faith or nothing. I hired you to cut my grass. That's what I want. Because sometimes we bring a lot of that oppression on ourselves, and then we're quick to cry. We just quick to cry. I can't, poor me, poor me. Sometimes it is, sometimes it ain't. But I do believe Abba Yah can move on the heart of those who own everything to open a position for you so that you can. So you can have you a little bit. And then once you earn some money, it's required of stewards to what? Be found faithful. A steward must be found faithful. I'm going to give you some treasure. And a lot of times he gives us treasure shekels and treasure. He's doing it to see what we're going to do with it. I'm going to see what y'all going to do with it. So there is an oppressive system that's out there, but there is ways for you to come up out of that oppression until that time is up for that oppressive system, which that's another good news is that time is up. Yeah, but how long am I going to live? I've been oppressed all my life. I ain't no spring chicken. I mean, bones is cracking. Sound like popcorn in the morning. You cracking walnuts over there? Nah, it's my ankle. I'm trying to get up out of bed. It used to be we just jump up out of bed. Man, that sun come up in the morning, boom, we up. Shower real quick. Man, I can get up and, oh man, I got to be in work in 15 minutes. Get in there, take a quick shower, get my clothes on, get out, drive, and get to work. Now it's like, man, it's going to take me 15 minutes to get to the shower to get my water going. So good tidings unto the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted. Now, notice now, in all of this, he's not doing away with the adversary. That comes later, because he even talks about it on here. Later on, we get to verse number 2. That comes later. But in the meantime is your time where he can bind up the brokenhearted, those who've had their hearts broken. And it doesn't have to be by your enemy or your adversary. A lot of times it could be by family and friends that has broken the heart. And he knows how, because he says, even in Hosea, he even says, with love bands, he drew us. I think it's Hosea. But anyway, he says, with love bands, he drew us. So he can take a broken heart and fix it. And sometimes it's, our heart is broken and certain people broke our heart, and then he moves them out of the way. Then we get mad at Yah. Yeah. They broke your heart. I mean, they did you wrong. And sometimes I think some folks just want to be abused. I think some folks just want to, they think that just comes with the territory. I don't know, but it's sad when you have that mindset that you just want to be abused. That's a sad. But he's able to bind up, so he knows how to put back together something that is broken, and how to mend the heart and the life of his people, to proclaim liberty to the captives. Now, everybody that's in jail is not innocent. You do have some who are innocent, but most of the ones who are in jail has done something to get there. But I'm not saying 100%, because I think there's people that they put in jail who are innocent. I definitely believe that. And he says that he can proclaim liberty to the captives, and not only those who are in the prison house. That's why I say prison, because the next thing he says, he talks about prison, but proclaiming liberty to the captives. Jeremiah said something in the first or second chapter of his book, of his scroll. Jeremiah said something. He says, are we natural, born slaves? I mean, are we just born into from generation to generation, we just going to be slaves? Is this just natural for us? And so those who are in captivity, he's saying that liberation is coming. And it's not the emancipation of what was that? Emancipation Proclamation, right? When Abraham Lincoln did that, he gave them an Emancipation Proclamation that they were free. They were free men. But He's not talking about that type of emancipation. He's talking about, when he's talking about the liberty that you're going to have, Yasharel will not be governed by their enemies and their adversaries. Yasharel will be self-governed. And so that means right now, the descendants of Yasharel, and we already know they're scattered to the four corners, but the descendants of Yasharel are not self-governed. They're not self-governed. They are under the government and the laws and regulations of other countries, other people, other nations. But when he proclaims liberty, it's not that you're going to be free to do whatever you want to do, because the government is going to be on whose shoulders? Because it says that in Isaiah 53. The government is going to be on Yahusha's shoulders. So we will, but we're going to be self-governed. He's going to be our king. He's going to be our king. We're going to fall under his government. We're not falling under the government of the United States of America. Thank Yah. Thank Yah. This is a crooked, if y'all knew, and I don't know, but I sure can sense it and see it and try to read it stuff and look stuff up. This government is as crooked. I don't know if they ever been straight. They ain't never been straight. Since they came over here, they was crooked. They was crooked coming from England. This is a wicked and perverse nation, and they want to be the moral righteous folks around the world. They want to appear as the most moral sound nation around the world, and they're just as wicked as all get out. And I don't care who you're rooting for, the red team or the blue team. You have to understand it's the system. And it doesn't matter who gets up in that position. The system is corrupt, and the system is against Yasharel. It don't matter. Well, they're going to do something. They ain't doing nothing. Neither one of them. They ain't doing nothing for you. They just want your vote. They ain't going to do a thing for you. And one of them said on the blue team, she said, they asked her, are you going to do something specifically for the black people? She said, no, I ain't doing nothing specifically for them. That's what she said. Came out of her own mouth. And you got all these folks, we got to vote for it. We got to vote for it. We got to vote for it. She ain't going to do nothing for you. It don't matter. Optics. I don't need optics. Optics ain't putting no bread on the table. Optics ain't done nothing for me. Well, we got a black woman on the Supreme Court. Optics. How many bills has that paid for you? I can't take that to the gas station. They got a black woman on the Supreme Court. I need a tank of gas. It ain't gonna do nothing for you. It's just optics. It's optics, and even the things that she rules over, most of it don't impact our lives anyway. It ain't doing nothing. I want something that's gonna close that wealth gap. I don't know about y'all. I want something that's gonna close that wealth gap, but we ain't gonna get it until Yahusha comes. He's gonna turn things up. Those who are on the bottom going to come up to the top, and Yasharel is going to be self-governed, and that day is coming. That day is soon. Okay, my time is up, but I wanted to get through some of this because when he said all of this is fulfilled in your ears this day, we have to understand that this is what's going to happen. When he says it's being fulfilled, it's because the Ruach was upon him to do all of this. And when Isaiah wrote that, he was speaking of Yahusha. And so when Yahusha showed up, he's telling them, all right, this is fulfilled in your eyes. On this day when you see me, this is being Isaiah 61 here. Those 6 things are being fulfilled. But we have to see something else. We get down here to the acceptable year of Yahuwah. When is the acceptable year of Yahuwah? When is that? Because he says, and the day of vengeance of our Elohim, to comfort all that mourn. Because some of us are going to be glad when we see the judgment on these nations. He says in the prophet Amos, I believe it is, he says the day of the Lord, the day of Yah. So many people talking about the day of Yah. He said the day of Yah is dreadful. You got to be careful what you're asking for. We want the day of Yah to come. Are you going to be able to stand? You going to be able to make it through? Are you going to be able to make it through that acceptable year and the vengeance of our Elohim? I mean, the day of Yah, it is coming like the prophets have spoken of, and he says it's a dreadful day. Everybody who's asking for it, just be careful what you asking for. Better make sure you're covered. So there's a lot of things in here because it doesn't end in just verse number 2. If you read this and go down, all of this is just one thought. It goes all the way down because we have to get down verse number 6. But ye shall be named the priest of Yahuwah. Men shall call you the ministers of our Elohim. Ye shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory shall ye boast yourselves. Now, Shaul picks this up in Corinthians, and he says that we are ministers of, anybody know what I'm going to say? He's given us the ministry of reconciliation. And the only ones who can reconcile are priests. Priests are the go-between. He's given us the ministry of reconciliation. So, but he talks about that here. We're going to be priests of Yahweh. And then Kepha, but Kepha, when in 1 Kepha 2:9, he's quoting Deuteronomy because he says you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation. And he's quoting Deuteronomy. But that royal priesthood, and you, my time is I'm going to go, but you will not be able to be a go-between or have the ministry of reconciliation and you don't know Torah. You don't know Torah. How are you gonna reconcile when Abba Yah, he looks at everything he created, there's laws, instructions, and everything, and then you're going to represent him by saying there is no law? How are you going to do that? I just wonder how people who say they don't know, how are you going to be a representative and be a priest? He said his whole nation were going to be priests for all these other nations. And you don't believe in law? And Yahusha says the government's going to be upon my shoulders. Oh, there's going to be a government. And you can't have government without, otherwise it's just chaos. It's just simply chaos. So every government has law. The thing about it is they took your constitution and your law book and built nations. Built nations with it. And then told you, you ain't got no law. Y'all just a lawless people, which we were. When you look at Torah, because we just could not keep it. So he sent his son to redeem us. But the new covenant is when he writes it on your mind and in your heart. And he has to do that, and you won't need no teacher. He has to do that because we're going to be a nation of priests. We're going to be a royal priesthood. We're going to, like it says, we're going to be priests unto other nations. There's going to be there's going to be other nations. Even on the new earth, there's going to be other nations. But we're going to be the priesthood. We're going to be the ones who do the reconciliation for all these other nations. And they have to go through us. Right now, they think next to nothing of y'all. but at this time, they're going to come through you. They ain't going to be able to go to Yah. Folks think they're going to be. Shoot, he ain't going to be able to go to Yah. We have to go through Yahusha right now. Yahusha said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto Abba but by me. So we got to go through Yahusha, but nations are going to have to go through us. And we're going to be priests, and not only priests, but kings. But You got to know what the law says. You got to know what the law says. It's 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock. You got to know what Torah says if you're going to be a representative of Torah. You got to know what Torah says. Any questions or comments out there? My time is up. Any questions or comments? Anything in the chat? Questions or comments in the chat? All right. I don't see no questions or comments. All right. We want to thank everybody for joining us on tonight in Torah Study. We're going to be back on the Sabbath with our Sabbath service. Sabbath is the day of Yahuwah. That's his day. When Yahukanan say he was in the Ruach, in the day of Yahuwah, that was on the Shabbat. That was on the Shabbat. Because that's the only day that Yah sanctifies and recognizes is the Shabbat. In fact, he didn't even give us a name for the other days. It's day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, Sabbath, Shabbat. And then we start all over. That sequence was never broken from Adam. He gave it to Adam, and that sequence was never broken. Count 6 days, rest on the 7th. Count 6 days, rest on the 7th. So we'll be back on the Shabbat to keep the Sabbath and be marked. Y'all keep the Sabbath. I don't know if y'all heard it, but I hear it. Y'all know we ain't got to keep the Sabbath. It marks us. I want to be marked. It's a sign on me. It's a sign. That's right. Hallelujah. That's right. I keep the Sabbath. That's right. Because it's a mark on me that we keep the Sabbath and not the first day of the week, because that's Constantine's. All right. No questions or comments? Y'all want to add anything to it? What do you think? Y'all want to add something to it? Add something to the lesson? If not, we got some announcements. We've got. I want to plan a trip to Waterloo, September. We've got Teruah, Feast of Teruah is coming up. The Feast of Atonement is coming up. So we're going to be talking more about the feast days. The fall feast, Teruah, the trumpets, the atonement. Yahusha is our atonement. And then tabernacles. He atoned for us and he tabernacles with us. Or we have to build our sukkah, and we invite him in. He says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man open up unto me, I'll come on in and sup with him. We build our sukkahs because we want him to come in and tabernacle with us. So, and then the Sukkot is more than one. Sukkah is one. Sukkot is the whole feast. That's when we all come together as a feast. It's a mandatory feast. All right. So we thank you for coming in and joining us. We're going to say Shalom and Baruch night. And see y'all on the Shabbat.